Whenever I read about John the Baptist, it's readily evident to me that John the Baptist was not a public relations person. When your opening line to your brand new audience is, "You brood of vipers," chances are either some of them will take offense and leave, or the others might stick around just to see if this guy is as crazy as he sounds. And yet the same John the Baptist is the one by the end of this passage who is telling us, he's bringing us the good news. Are you confused by now? I have a riddle. Pastors have to have humor. Why did John the Baptist take off his shoes before going into the water? Because he wanted to save souls. Yeah, it's bad, I know. It's not easy coming up with John the Baptist jokes, believe me. There's not much to work with there. On top of that, this is supposed to be our Sunday of joy, our pink candle Sunday. So how does this relate? Where is this good news? There's a risk we face on the pink candle Sunday. I don't know about you, but the lead up to Christmas often makes me aware of just how much I am not feeling merry. I'm not feeling happy. And if this happens to you, we both need to realize that we run the risk of suddenly feeling as if there's something wrong with us if we're not feeling happy. And the next step is feeling that we're in some way, if we don't watch it, we start to feel that we are in some ways deficient, a failure at ho, 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 if you want to call it that. But be advised, none of us are in any way deficient. You see, this third Sunday, this pink candle Sunday, is the Sunday of joy, and joy is not the same thing as happiness. Reverend Marcia Paul is an Episcopal priest, and she has an important perspective on this. She picked up on that line that we read from Paul as an example of how Paul is our cheerleader as Christians. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say, rejoice. And Reverend Marcia notes that with the tough times we've been experiencing these last few years, with loss and uncertainty, and as she says, with the state of the beautiful and broken world we're in, how can we hear these words and rejoice? But as she points out, in our minds, joy tends to overlap with happiness. Yeah? Happiness is often connected to what's happening to us and around us. Happiness usually lasts for just a period of time. Yeah. When we are discouraged and afraid, rejoicing in the Lord can be a hard sell. But the truth is that joy is not usually inspired by happy circumstances. Poet and author David White writes, "To feel a full and untrammeled joy is to have become fully generous, to allow ourselves to be joyful, to have walked through the doorway of fear," as he says. And joy, unlike happiness, lasts no matter what the challenge is. It's true, it seems that we must choose joy. It's not a matter of happiness at all. And very often joy enters the dance of our life when the darkness of tragedy has also entered the dance. I want to remind you of another Pink Candles Sunday of Advent that we were all here for. I'm sure you've forgotten that it was a Pink Candle Sunday. That was the Sunday, December 16th, 2012, 2 days after the Sandy Hook Massacre. It was a Pink Candle Sunday. And that event rocked everyone's world, and especially our church, reeling because we had just found out that one of our own teacher Lauren Russo was among those sacrificed to madness, and that her funeral was going to be here. Now, you probably also didn't know at the time, some congregations across the country thought that they should take the pink candle out of the Advent wreath to mourn. I happened to find Reverend David Huber's sermon from that very morning. He was out in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin's Council of Churches had declared, they sent out an email saying that this Sunday churches ought to leave the candle of joy unlit until in remembrance of what happened and in remembrance of those who died. Leave it dark in response to unrelenting death. But Reverend Huber didn't agree with that. He said that morning, and I endorse what he said, "This is a Sunday of joy. We light our candles, but we don't light our candles because they model reality. The candles on our Advent wreath, we don't light them because they model what's going on. Lighting these candles is not a sentimentalist act of pretending that everything is okay. We light these candles in defiance of reality, defiance. And we light them as well to remold reality, to remind us who we are. We are all the candles. We are all the light. We light them in defiance of reality to say to evil, you are not ultimate. You are not ultimate. And we refuse to buy what you're selling, your easy answers, your black and white thinking, your message of power over others, and the needing to win, to come out on top or ahead of others. We light these candles in defiance of what is to say, this is what ought to be. We light the candle of joy because this is what ought to be. We choose joy. We find joy in being together. And that's very true, that often joy, when happiness doesn't come, being together with others can make us feel joy. Of course, we know that not enough has changed since 2012, and should have in the last 9 years, but one shining thing remains. We can rejoice. We can rejoice because we are not alone. You just heard that. We can rejoice because Jesus is in our midst still. We can rejoice because we matter to Jesus. And we matter to the universe. Jesus is telling us, rejoice because I am here and I am doing a new thing. The pain of that day has no more power over the future than the darkness has a power over the candle. Is to light a candle. To light a candle. It's more than just a wish. Although it's a very potent thing. A few Christmases ago, I had one of my young people who was kind of like the age of 12 or 13, and he came up, and he hadn't been in church in a while, at the end of our service, Christmas Eve service, and he was all excited. He says, I love this so much. This whole place smells of burnt candles. It's like a birthday party. And it is. Now, Friday night, Gary and I went to see Spielberg's new version of West Side Story. I highly recommend it, not just because of its artistry. I recommend it because hatred and evil may not have changed much since 1957 when the play appeared. But then goodness and light have grown. The two factions of the gang, the White Jets and the Puerto Rican Sharks, still exist in reality, although under many more names. The boys and girls still lean out, craving. The girls crave for love, boys crave for power. They face poverty and destruction everywhere. They know the rumble is coming. They know death stalks them. But yet, the night before the face-off, they choose joy. They choose to dance. Joy and tragedy, as we said earlier, enter the dance together. And when we choose joy, we cast aside, even for a moment, our fears. That's what Jesus asked us to drop, our fears. We feel joy. They felt joy. We dance on with hope in our hearts, even when we know the rumble is coming. And when death first strikes the sharks in the movie, they are the ones who kneel down in the middle of a boxing ring and they light a candle to the Virgin. Not that they understand everything, but they know that this is the way life should be instead of the way life is. It's Pink Candle Sunday. Reverend Huber reminds us. Jesus has given us not the answer, but the way to respond. Do not give in to fear, but have hope. Do not give in to anxious fretting, but be at peace. Do not give in to despair, but rejoice. Have joy. Do not give in to apathy, but have love. For evil has no power except what we give it. Advent says that there's a way out of this mad cycle. That's what Advent's about, moving to the light. And we are the candles. Amen.